There are so many details you need to know when it comes to receiving your workers' compensation settlement, and it is hard to know where to even begin. And that's why we have the lovely Katherine Stone from Injury Florida Law here to help us out. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I am well. Happy spring break to you.
Spring break to us.
We got the family in studio here.
We've got all of our family and my daughter here.
I like it.
It's exciting.
Well, maybe we'll get a cameo here at some point. But until then, we're talking about workers' compensation, which is so important. And I'm so glad that we have someone like yourself, because from what I've learned, it completely can be overwhelming and people don't know where to begin.
Right. And especially when it comes to the time of settlement. And by that point, I've already been involved, hopefully. Although I have gotten some calls occasionally, and one here recently where she was trying to negotiate the settlement by herself with the adjuster, but she was a Medicare recipient. And so there's all kinds of ramifications of a work comp settlement with regards to your Medicare and using your Medicare benefits in the future. So thankfully, she reached out to me ahead of time. Basically, you can't shift the burden of what workers' comp would pay for your medical care onto Medicare. We have what's called Medicare set-asides. So out of a portion out of your settlement actually has to be put into a special account and used solely for what we call Medicare covered expenses for those injuries that were covered by workers' comp.
Again, it just seems like this is another example of that red line, things that you don't necessarily think of, and people aren't going to tell you this.
No, I mean, the adjuster knew what she was doing in the sense of she knew that Medicare set-aside money needed to be allocated in the settlement documents, and she did bring it up to the claimant, which kudos to her for bringing that up, because they're just as likely on the hook with Medicare as the claimant can be. So it's in both parties' interest that you have that specific language in there, and that they, in this particular case, there's certain thresholds where Medicare actually gets to approve your settlement documents and approve whether or not you have put enough money aside. So there's a lot of things with settlements that come up. Another issue that has come up is child support and alimony can be taken out of your settlement if you are in arrears. And so if your settlement is less than your arrearage, then they take 50% of your net after attorney's fees and cost. And that's something that I've had a lot of clients recently have a really hard time understanding, even with child support that was like almost 20 years old.
Wow.
And unfortunately, and I have to explain this to clients, they're not going to put any more money on the table to pay you because you owe past due child support or alimony. We literally have a database that we have to submit a request for every single claimant. Doesn't matter age or anything. Every claimant, before they settle, you have to have that child support report.
Man, so it seems like one of those things like child support or Medicare, those things that you need to bring up right out of the gate.
It's on my intake questionnaire, because I have to know that well in advance, knowing exactly, what's happening. And, sometimes you'll get a client who's older and they'll be like, oh, I don't know any child support. And then occasionally you get one that will be 20 years old.
And then it's like, okay, hello, information we could have used. And I'm glad that you brought up that system too, because in reality, if people try to kind of like skirt the system or think they can get around it.
Now, we have had instances, and I did have an instance recently where the gentleman, the state system was showing one thing, but the county system was showing something different. We were able to get a letter from the county to be able to change his numbers.
See, but again, Katherine's the one who's able to go break it down, help you keep everything intact. If you're interested in more information and getting in touch with Katherine, there's the information on your screen, phone number, website. Of course, we're talking about Injury Florida Law. Katherine, as always, we appreciate your time.